Docking request accepted.
Good morning, New Eden! Today is June 22nd, 2025, and this is the Federation Frontline Report. I'm your host, Frozen Fallout, and unfortunately, I apologize, we are not, don't mind the lower thirds here. We're doing a Warzone review.
That's what happens when you go from streaming to streaming.
Yeah, that's, I didn't get everything all prepped and readied. But we did have a really great interview with CCP Burger last episode. That was super fucking cool.
That was super great. I wish I could have stuck around for the whole thing, but he's such an amazing guy to talk to. We only got to chat with him briefly the year before, the EVFs before. So the fact that we actually got to sit down and hang out with him last FanFest was just fantastic. So again, such an amazing, fun guy to talk to.
Yeah, no, it was a blast. I had a lot of fun. We got to fleet with him, got to go out and kill with him, go out and hang out, and we got some cool stuff. Yeah, it was a blast. So
he's just trying to prove that CCP doesn't hate Galmill.
Yeah, so, no, absolutely. So I'm your host, Frozen Fallout. My co-host here is Nightflyer. So Nightflyer, I hear there's some stuff on the news recently. What's before we jump into the Warzone, what's kind of going on in Eveland?
Yeah, there's been some scuttlebutt coming around from a news report out of I'll say Korea, but I'm not exactly sure where the news source is coming from. But apparently, Pearl Abyss is being quoted as saying that they're shopping CCP, Crowd Control Productions, who's a company that actually makes EVE Online. So now the speculation around this is going around. It's not a hard sale. It's not a definite of any kind.
Right,
a lot of
like
it
people
is just kind of speculation.
Other MMO companies have been getting basically a cold offer of being like, hey, would you be interested in buying EVE Online and CCP?
But it's like, is your house for sale? Well, no, my house isn't for sale. But if you came at me with a price,
this is a little different. This is more like
a little different.
It's a little different in the sense that instead of somebody coming to them asking for the house, they're going out and saying, hey, who's interested in my house? They're not necessarily saying, I'm interested in selling. They're saying, who's interested in my house? And what are you willing to pay for it? They bought them for what, like $25 million or something like that?
200. So, and here's the little backstory on that. So the initial sale of CCP was 400 million. Now the incentive, so it was 200 million up front, and then there was a 200 million in option. So from the business aspect of things, when you buy a company, a lot of times you don't pay the asking price for it. You pay an upfront cost, and then the rest of the fees come whether or not the business succeeds. So it can work good for both people. So if I buy a company and it goes to shit, I'm only out a portion of my money. But if I buy a company and it skyrockets and takes off, then both of us can make money off that.
Right.
So in short, the projections that CCP was supposed to make did not get reached, and so the 200 million that they were supposed to pay forward, they did not. So
okay, so CCP lost out on like 200 million basically.
So yeah, so they lost out on it, and
from my understanding, if they hadn't been developing new games, that they would have met their goals, right?
Right. If those games have taken off, if they would have made more money, then they would have made more money on the sale. So,
but they spent a lot of money on Frontier and Vanguard.
They did,
and they R&D costs that are not
there's something about a $50 million debt. I don't fully understand that, and maybe somebody knows a lot more about finances than I do, but there was a $50 million in debt someplace that got paid off, and whether it was Pearl Abyss that paid it off or it was CCP that paid it off, I'm not exactly sure. But bottom line is, what the experts are saying, the sale of the company would be about 150 mil if Pearl Abyss really wanted to let it go. So why would Pearl Abyss want to let it go? Why do they want to get rid of it? So EVE Online makes money. We know that. It makes 50 million a year. Okay, it's been doing that for a while. It's pretty solid. Because guys like you and me, keep paying our subscriptions. But there are those other ventures, like they're working on the first-person shooter. They're working on the online game. They're building that the fungible game, and those things are an expense that aren't making a lot of money yet. So there's some speculation in that.
They're not making any money. They're costing.
Yeah, that Pearl Abyss got cold feet, and they're just kind of looking if they can cut their losses at this point. Now on the Pearl Abyss side, their big IP, intellectual property, is Black Desert. So that was good. They're working on another game version of that, which is called Crimson Desert. And that's been pushed back like 5 times, 7 times to keep, kind of like they did. I won't even go into that. But so they've pushed back the date on that. Now they're saying that it's going to be November 2nd of this year. And what's got some people scratching their heads is that the Summer Game Con was on June 6th of this year, and Pearl Abyss did not make any mention of Crimson Desert coming out in November. And so that's got people kind of not believing on that it's going to happen, that it's going to get pushed again.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, so there's just a lot of speculation. There's just a lot of reasons why Pearl Abyss would want to do it. There's a lot of options that CCP would have, the options to. I'm pretty sure they have a managerial right where they can purchase the company themselves. So Almaro, I know, has some money, but I don't know if he's got the 150 mil that they would be asking. But my take is he's a smart guy. He's got friends. CCP is a big deal in Iceland, and there are a lot of large investors in Iceland. And don't forget A16Z, who is Anderson Horowitz. They're a private investment company. They gave CCP like $20 million for research investments. So they're already a hedge fund that could be interested in fronting, the money for something like this. Again, they know EVE Online is going to make 50 million every year. So if they spent, 150 mil, they know in 3-4 years they're going to see a return on their investment.
Well, the thing is, as long as they're not spending it elsewhere, which is what's kind of
true.
That's
true, but
so it's like it's the I don't know if I can trust you with because you're not just buying EVE Online, you're buying all the other ideas and concepts of
right.
And
like every other game company out there, you cannot just hang your hat on one game.
But it's got to one
Red
of these has got to be success. I mean, it's 20 years of failure.
You've got to
one game so far.
But think about how many video games fail. There are so many video games that fail, or at least don't make the projected profits that the companies think they're going to make.
And I mean, Death by 14 technically is not a failure because that made more money than it lost. So
yeah, and you've also got to think long term too. Like the Frontiers, and it's an experimental project. This is kind of laying the groundwork for what CCP can be doing, 5 to 10 years from now. And that's what this company needs to be thinking about. Video games don't last 20 years. It's very rare. You can count on one hand how many games have been around for this kind of time period. I spoke to Helmar specifically and asked him about this, and he's like, yeah, this game, he's like 5 years. He's like, when he got invested into CCP and he took over, it was a 5-year deal. He thought EVE will be 5 years and he'll move on. So here we are, 22 years now of going on, and you just don't see that a lot. So, but if this company, CCP, can't come up with some other intellectual properties or come up with the video games of the future, then like every other video game company, they're just not going to be around. So
yeah,
I mean, they've got to take these bold steps. But do I think they're going to get sold? No. I think it's again, I think CCP would be out in front of this already. I think Pearl Abyss would have put something out. It's been 2 days that this has been out on the wire. So if they haven't put something out by now, I'm guessing it's just kind of like you said, hey, I'm not going to sell, but if I were, what would you pay for it?
right,
kind
yeah,
of thing.
Yeah.
So that could have been
Who's
the conversation.
interest, what's going on, future.
In my
news.
opinion, that's what I think it is.
So EVE Online news, though, we do have some crazy stuff that's been going on. So there's this the Scope has a new video out about an event that just happened. So let's kind of take a look at that here real quick. I can do this. I can make this much bigger. Shrink like that. And then we'll just hit play.
Yeah, I only have 3 monitors, so I have to look at my side
monitor
monitor.
System gave way to all-out warfare as an attack on a Fortizar owned by Snuffed Out sparked one of the largest battles of recent months. This assault, initiated by Winterco alongside a temporary coalition of various low-security and factional warfare alliances, aimed to strike at one of the bases of operation for Snuffed Out in the area. In a rare show of unity, multiple rivals of Snuffed Out, many of whom would normally find themselves on opposing sides within factional warfare zones, joined forces with Winterco. Their objective? To force a conflict timer that would test the capabilities of both sides. Foreseeing the coming storm, Snuffed Out discreetly enlisted support from their attackers' rivals to counter the incoming siege. The Lanthorn system became a battleground lit up by destruction, involving over 3,800 Capsuleers, with fleets primarily comprised of battleships and capital-class dreadnoughts. Snuffed Out initially fielded Tempest Fleet issues alongside their defense force, which included Ravens, Nightmares, and Rogues, in an impressive defensive wall formation. On the other side, Winterco spearheaded their assault with Rocks, aided by their allies in Barguests and Tempest Fleet issues. Initial exchanges relied heavily on long-range, high-damage volleys. With the attackers halfway to achieving their objective of destroying the Fortizar, both sides began to escalate. Dreadnought-class vessels dropped in rapid succession, pushing the battle into a new phase of destruction. Despite maintaining a strong offensive posture, the attackers found themselves gradually outnumbered. After nearly an hour of escalating conflict, dreadnoughts being deployed, and mounting casualties, Winterco sounded the retreat. The Fortizar remained in Snuffed Out's hands, with a minimal amount remaining on its structure. Total losses are estimated to be valued at over 3.1 trillion ISK. The fallout from the engagement carried its own surprises. Communications released in the wake of the battle revealed that Minmatar Fleet Alliance, originally aligned with the attacking forces, had covertly switched allegiance. It is alleged that they foresaw an unfavorable outcome as the attackers in the assault, an act that may have influenced the battle's outcome. In their own debrief, Winterco acknowledged that they anticipated being outnumbered but chose to proceed regardless. Their leadership advised pilots to set platinum-level insurance before deploying into battle. A grim recognition of the odds they would face, but one they would be prepared for.
Yeah, I think it was 306.
While the Fortizar still stands, the scale of the losses and the shifting loyalties have redefined tensions in low-security space. The Scope will continue monitoring developments in the region. This is Alton Hovery, reporting for the Scope.
So, not just recently, so that was the last one that just happened with Snuff versus Frat, basically. And, it's all coming down to this Fortizar, and yes, the Mimitar fleet bailed on them basically, and so that kind of
it sounds like.
So that's the massive damage to Frat. But the next thing that happened was Snuffed Out lost like a couple trillion, like 4 trillion or something like that, is in dreads and shit recently in a system that they didn't know was or that you could deploy bubbles, or if they didn't care, or they whatever, but they dropped an insane amount of stuff. Sedition dropped a bunch of stuff. Everybody else dropped like on top of Snuff and basically wiped them completely out.
That's too bad.
And it was all over a roaming dread, just one lone roaming dread with backup.
Oh, that's how dread fights usually start, though, isn't it? Wrong dread, or a dread in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Snuff. Couldn't happen to some nicer guys, but no, it's good content, and the fact that how many of these fights now have been taking place in low sec, and we've been talking about this for a year or so now too, of how at least since the major change to faction warfare, you're seeing these big brawls happen more and more, and they're getting bigger and bigger in low sec. That's why I'm just happy being a low secker. Like, the fact I never went or stayed out in nullsec, I think was a good move on my part.
I mean, it's an experience. The thing is, it's like, so we've been just sitting here getting fights, in low sec. Imperium has had to move like 3 times now, like.
Yeah, almost a Guinness Book of World Record review of their move through space.
Right. Like,
that's interesting stuff.
They're breaking records because they're moving around. We're breaking records because we're killing shit. So, speaking of killing shit, do we want to bring up the Gal Mill? Let's take a look at the kill board here. But like, we are kicking ass here. 52 systems to 38. Nenemelia heavily under assault. There was just a battlefield where the Galente fielded like 100 fucking people. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, what is going on with my screen here? Yes, I have not seen a swing this big since the initial start of this map. Yeah, and I think this is probably multi-layered as far as why this is occurring. Obviously, the war in the South has got a big impact. A lot of the guys that have been pushing in faction warfare are now involved in the larger wars down in nullsec. So, we're not seeing the inits and the frats in faction warfare quite as much now. So, I think they pulled out. 2, I think we had very well organization with a lot of our FCs. And the guys from Frog Pond and Flea at Pizza Delivery Hungry, they have been out there doing it. They've been out there plexing. They've been out there fighting, getting content. Kirk last night was handing out some big ships and was really making that battle up there something, because that's another problem. We've talked about this 100 times. Logistics. You've got to have the ships in system where the fighting is at, which is why we like being at Hydalis so much, is because that's where a lot of our stuff is, and we're able to get stuff there. But now with the front moving up north and away from there, logistics have been a problem on my end. I'm buying a lot of stuff off contract. I'm trying to pick stuff up as we go through systems. But I'm wondering, and how much of this, do you know anything about the content with the wormholes? Where did that all go?
What do you
Remember
mean?
Everybody was fighting over getting access to these special wormholes, and
oh yeah,
we weren't. Galente wasn't taking part in all that, and the Kaldari were. And I'm like, is that like a strategic thing on our end where we're not going to worry about this? What could be? Let's focus on what we actually do have.
Yeah, so I know that I pitched in on a roleplay petition to try and, see if we can get some support here from the, uh, what was it? We wanted to team up with Edencom, I believe, and the Mimitar, because we don't have a hole, but it's a wormhole. 60% of the game's population doesn't care. Interesting that 40% though do care, and I'm interested why. What does it mean? There's new technology and stuff like that might be coming out of that, but yeah, in general, I guess it's not really.
Yeah, as we can see from the map, the south is almost all but had, and they're doing some fighting over here in Hasira, which I think it's one of those things that's a good system to have, just so you can say you have it, but it doesn't really play a lot in the overall. I don't know what you call it, a floodplain. Even it's a lot different than like Nagamon and Devon and Sujarento. Like these three systems are very important as far as war effort goes. Where this one just
owning those systems, being able to dock in those systems.
Yeah, but so I think we can. I don't know if we could dock in that one.
Well, it'd be interesting because if we can take Nenemelia, that really puts all the pressure then on OICX, really.
Yeah.
Because nobody really cares about the upper states up there. Everything is going to move over to OICX.
Yeah, and this has always been highly contested. I can't even tell you the last time we've actually had control of that system. And if we did, we had it for like a day.
We've had short periods of, we've never broke, not never, but since the patch, I don't think we've never broken past EHA.
Your buddy up in EHA too. He will fight tooth and nail to make sure we don't get that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and rightfully so.
So
we're looking forward to when.
Yeah, you want to be able to dock in EHA. They put a lot of effort to docking in EHA. Yeah, it's like when Caldari, took OMS. Taking OMS doesn't matter because we can dock in OMS no matter what. We can always dock in Hades.
Yeah, it'll always be a
EHA, you can't dock in EHA if we own all the systems around it. It's not a front line. So kicking people out, like Devon is a huge important one. Sujarento is a huge, important one. Nisawa is huge. These are, places that have market known for having at least somewhat of a low set market. Like Hades, losing Hades doesn't matter. And in fact, I'm going to say this is controversial a little bit, but due to the current game mechanics, it doesn't make sense for us to own the entire Warzone.
No, it never does.
I want it to be on my front doorstep. But we'll see how this kind of it'll add a little bit of change, because we might have to start setting some forwarding bases over in Nisawa. I think Aldrin.
Well, we got two of the big ones that we want to get. So we got Rakapes, which you can see we're fighting back for, and Halanan, which I don't know if we've had Halanan since Noir took it over like 2 years ago. But these two systems are very strategic because you can jump freight anywhere. Well, there's one system you can't with Rock. I think both of them have like one system you can't actually jump freight to.
From Jim.
And I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but there is. But yeah, so you can jump from here to any place else in the war zone. So if you have ships, you can get there. So that's why these two are really strategically important. Last night, though, we took two systems last night, which was Hakoken, which was a simple bash. We plexed it and bashed it. But Avalon, we ground on that for about 8 hours. I was big up there last time. My wife's out of town, so I had time to screw around. It's too hot to go outside and do anything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I did lawn
luckily,
work yesterday. It was dumb.
my game room hobby shop down here is in the basement, so it is nice and cool down here, whether the AC's on or not. So, which is why I can wear a sweatshirt sitting down here.
Yeah, that's the reason why I'm in no sweatshirt too, is because it's chilled out in my basement. Like,
but we ground this and we flipped over Avalon late last night, and there's some of the frustration that you have with faction warfare, with different corps trying to coordinate and do stuff together. We were counting it down, like, hey, we got one system or one plex we're going to do. It took us to 99.98, so it screwed us. So we had to do one more medium that was in system. It was the only thing available. So we were doing that. Maybe it was a small. It doesn't matter. We had one more plex we had to do. So we counted that down. So I went and got my bashing ship. But we had like 5 people show up for the bash. And we're like, guys, there's 40 of us on comms right now. Why is there only 5 guys here, like, bashing? And then, in the midst of that bash, a battlefield popped up. So we're like, well, if we can bash this and flip the system, it will reset that battlefield, and Keldari will not get any points for being in there. So everyone started showing up, but we were in smaller stuff. A lot of catalysts, a lot of Hecates, a couple of bombers, that kind of thing. And we started getting dropped. And we had... let me see if I can pull this up. I can't remember what all they had on grid, but pretty much they had a... They had a bunch of different things, but they were all kind of anchored by a Phoenix Navy issue.
oh wow, yeah.
So they had that. So they ended up pushing them south field. They had a Harpy fleet out too. So we got pushed off. We went and got Brutix Navy issues. We came back and we're like, we have to flip the system before they can complete the battlefield. So Kirk handed out Brutix Navy issues. We had like 10 of us, and we needed 2 more. We had to have 2 more. And again, it just came down to communication between the corps through comms that it took too long. It took too long to get set up. It took too long to get on place. We just ran out of time. And we had what we had. We put them on, got them in system. We started trying to shoot the iHub, and we got it down to what did it have left? 15% armor or something. I think it was 85% armor we took out before we just gotten wiped off. But again, we couldn't contend with the Phoenix. We couldn't contend with the other stuff they had on. Caracal Navy.
People being ballsy
those on
with,
maelstroms.
Stuff out of the, out doing stuff other places and losing lots of this.
Yeah. So we got pushed off. Mistakes were made. A lot of it just came down to communication, which is always probably the number one thing that falls apart in any critical incident or big maneuver like this. But
yeah, Hemp was saying
we left.
Volleys, 8 volleys.
We left. They left, and then they went back and bashed it. I had to go get some sleep. I was up. It was about 1 a.m. my time, and I'm like, I can't stick around for this. So, but they ended up flipping that last night. So technically, we didn't flip 2 systems in one day. So because it was like in the wee hours in the U.S. this morning, and the other one was yesterday. So,
but yeah,
still a lot of fighting going up here.
Yeah, we're looking really good. I was looking at the different thing that we have here for the kill board, So it looks like if you look at the Keldari, they have like 900 active PvP players. We have 484 active PvP players. Now, a lot of that is going to be skewed because you can see that if you go to alliances, you've got Goon Swarm, Fraternity, Initiative, Pandemic Horde. These guys make up a large percentage of their killers, and they're in 0.0 most of the time. Whereas with the Galente, we have a little bit more, focus of, we do have a little bit, but Ribbit, Essence, Quaff Liberation, Shadow Cartel, those are our top four. Initiative has a little bit inside of us, but there's 200 that the initiative does for us, 300 that the initiative does for the Keldari. So those guys are playing, both sides to a certain degree. And there's, the Galente United, Shadow Ultimatum, Federation Frontline, Wrecking Machine, Dead Pixels. We have no major alliance supporting us. And so a lot of their kills do come from 0.0. There is a very large possibility that you'll see, these 0.0 in catch, some of these will come through. Verify I'm a human. Oh no.
That. What if you fail?
I don't know. What if I'm not human? Shit.
Then what?
So they don't have a shitload, but you'll see that kind of might bump up their numbers. Here's a good example of a bunch of.
Yeah, I just think that's an awesome stat that 2 of the largest alliances in the game are in Keldari and not on the Galente code board.
3. They've got
initiative too. Sorry. Oh, and Pandemic Horde.
And Pandemic. Well, we have initiative, so we can take those out. But they have Goon Swarm, Fraternity, and Pandemic Horde. So they have 3 of the major 0.0 coalition people on that back them in the war. And mainly, this is where people talk about the ENI, and even after all the nerfs, they're still wanting to nerf it more, which is ridiculous. Because it's nerfed enough. We're okay, man.
We're good. We're good.
Please stop punching me in the balls. But our Moro sucks comparatively to the PNI, man. The Phoenix Navy issue is just so fucking bonkers.
Yeah. Well, and again, they nerfed the Moros years ago and they took the drones away, and I think it really needs those. I think if it had the drones, then it would have a place. I mean, I still want to fly one. I'm still planning on buying one. I just don't know how to fit it where it's any good for anything.
I mean, web is, the web and scram range on it is kind of nice, and like conjunction maybe with another dread might be kind of nice. But like solo, it's not.
No, solo, it's not going to do anything. It would be good in a fleet.
You want maybe one, like maybe.
Yeah.
So here's a more.
Yeah, it doesn't have the range. It can't move, and it just doesn't have the punch that it needs to counterbalance that lack of movement and range. So I think drones would be nice for it. So I think but again, it had it one time, they took them away, so that was well before my time.
Drone bonus was awesome, dude.
So, but yeah, I think that would be great. But what do I know?
Yeah, but the dude was using the PNI, but it's the selling of the reason why, because Goon Swarm comes in. The reason why we were talking about the PNI specifically, not just, we were actually talking about it before dropping on people, because Snuffed Out is actually not, is more, kind of thing. But Null is farming the PNI.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that.
I don't understand how their LP is so good though. Like, it's just an imbalance. Something else. Something's going on. Anyways, besides
Yeah, that was my-
conspiracy theories, like we've been doing pretty good though. You know, lots of kills, lots of fights been going on. Total kills for us is 4,000. Total kills for the Keldari are 11,000. But once again, 0.0, you know, kind of changes that number up quite a bit.
4,000. I got 6,500.
If you go to kills, so if you're in overview, you will get
kill losses.
you'll get kill plus losses. It'll give you 6,500.
Yep, I was
If I
a
go
click
to
away.
kills,
Sorry
it
about
goes
that.
to
I'm a click
4,000.
behind you.
Yeah, 484 characters. You know, big shout out to Noir, and you know the Federation Defense Force, and a lot of others. Also, we do have a sponsor. Let's just do real quick. If you want to get yourself set up for how to get your ships all built and marketing and getting everything all set up, so you can actually get out there and do some, you know, crazy PvP, definitely check out Eve Guru. They are really cool, and here's a little ad from them.
Eve is hard. Everyone is out for themselves. You try mining, manufacturing, trading, but with little to moderate success. No one wants to give up their secrets. No one wants you to win. But that won't stop you. You just need the right partner. Someone to give you the right answer every minute of every day. A tool developed by Eve University professors for the community. A tool that generates overwhelming value. A community that helps each other. Let me ask you a question. Do you want to be a trillionaire?
Alright, so yeah, that was Eve Guru. They do a bunch of help with marketing, and you can give a little test and sample of that. Did you did you dive any deeper into that?
Oh, I've been really kind of plugging away trying to do the station PvP. So yeah, marketing is tough. They have a lot of programs in there that if you play with, and you can set the parameters that you want to do at the stations that you want to do it in, and it'll tell you like what are the buy orders. The problem that I'm having is I think a lot of people are seeing how good this program is at that, and I'm finding myself placing buy orders only to, you know, be out buy ordered within a short period of time. I went from number 1 on the list to number 5 on the list. So you know, it's just a matter of finding those products and those things out there that you can buy cheap and sell. So, but so far, like I said, I haven't put big investment into it. You know, even talking with Fern, you know, he said that you should, if you're really going to do it seriously, you should be in the 5 billion mark. That's kind of what you should be playing with. And I haven't really kind of made that investment into it yet. I can see myself getting there as I, you know, keep playing with the program and see the different aspects of the market trader. Just as far as finding out, you know, hey, if you want to buy, you know, ammo, like where's the best place to buy ammo? Where's the best prices? Where's the best bulk? That kind of stuff. And the program alone is just as good as anything out there for doing, you know, space-wide market research on that. So you take that into account with all the other stuff that the program can do, but I'm still kind of learning on, and that doesn't even, and that's just the marketing stuff. That doesn't even get into the, you know, the manufacturing aspect of it. That's a whole different animal in itself. So I can see myself definitely getting into that just as a one-stop shop to get all my marketing and logistics stuff kind of taken care of. I actually just did it because I'm trying to buy up a lot of Gnosises because
Yep.
they didn't hand them out. You had to earn them this year. So I can see that's something that by the end of the year, they're going to have gone up a lot in value. So I used the tool exclusively basically like that, where I went out and bought like 20 Gnosis. And I just know that they're the cheapest ones in space. So outside of going into deep nullsec, there's a couple out there that I'm like, I'm not going all the way out there for 2. Not one, I can spend a couple mil more and buy 10 of them at this station here. So, but I've been trying to scoop those up.
He makes his money selling long clippings.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a great marketing tool. I'm just really trying to go through the tutorials and let's see. He keeps putting stuff out. He's got his Discord out there where they can answer a lot of questions. You can reach out to Fern directly on there. He seems to be on quite often, so if you have a question, you can usually talk to him directly. But definitely worth trying out.
Awesome.
That's my opinion.
And yeah, I'm planning on doing much more with Hey Die Less. I want to make sure we have a strong market that you can still live out of there, even though it's not on the direct front lines. I've been finding my ability to get to the front lines been pretty easy from Hade, so.
I'm really spending a lot of time now trying to find a good trade hub that's not one of the big ones. Because there's those kind of off things like Hey Dialis, Stackmon, and places like that where, they're the kind of the other go-tos.
Mm-hmm.
Because now that we're fighting up in the north, I mean, that's one of the primary places to go to if you're actually looking to buy stuff.
Yeah, Stackmon has got a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. I was just going to try to look something up real quick and see. Was it Oyoletta? Is that the other one up there?
Forest Alert.
Yeah. So those are like the 2 places you have to go to when we're fighting up north now if you want to do like the quick jump. But those are kind of marketed out already by some trillionaires in the game. And so trying to find that happy medium in between the major trade hub and one of these other ones. So something like Intaki, where a lot of people are coming through there and they're going to need this and that. And as I found, there's a lot of things they don't have in those systems.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's always holes.
That if you want to, I think you're the one that was telling me too about the T1 shields. Any of the what are they called? The compact. Any of the compact shields and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because people use them, especially on frigates and things like that, or when you're throwing stuff away, you need to save some of that room on your cap. You're going to throw those on there. And there wasn't like any in system. So, and using, Eve Guru, I figured that out. And guess what? Now there's some on the system. Mm-hmm. So, just trying to fill that niche. So.
The idea of shipping lanes and trade items not being for sale and stuff like that, having to travel like sometimes an hour,
mm-hmm.
to get to your ship, depending on where you live in a galaxy, how you're shipping shit, what space
and going to Judas is not always your best option because you're going to have to go through Udama.
Yep.
And it's just a numbers game at that point. It's just a matter of time. So unless you're finding a way to jump around it, you got to be careful. You got to know what you're doing. You got to be flying smart. And hopefully you don't have so much in your hull that you're a prime target for.
Right,
those pirates. Nasty pirates.
All right, well, let's go ahead and I think we'll wrap things on up here. Anything that we forgot to talk about before we wrap things up here, though?
I do want to give out some information here. So, October 9th through the 12th is going to be Eve Vegas, and our boy Hoppy is going to be streaming that live. They will be doing the same kind of setup. Well, they'll have the barbecue, they'll have the dinner, and some other attractions out there. More of that information is out. I meant to grab some of it. I know Hoppy had some on his Discord, which I can't jump on right this second. So that's out there. And then Eve, Michigan, August 29th. And that's in Bay City, Michigan. And they will be at the Crazy Quarters Arcade in downtown Bay City from 6 to 9. So I'm looking forward to that.
On Earth, man.
And some other stuff. They're still kind of working on the Eve, Michigan one. I do plan on heading out there for that. I'm off, so whether I start driving out there Thursday night or just go out Friday morning. But I'm going to go out there and probably camp. So hopefully there's a place in downtown Bay City I can park my RV. Worst case scenario, I will get a Harvest Host or something outside of town and just Uber in, which might be the safest way to go because I have a tendency to drink at these Eve things. But that's all I got for you.
Awesome. Well, we do also have Eve Gen Con that's going to be happening on July 31st in Indianapolis.
Who goes to that? And who does speeches at those things?
Yeah, no, there's 30 people who are going to be listening to me talk about Eve history already, and yeah, next year I think I'm going to go a lot bigger. This is kind of a really big test. We're just going to be messing around with seeing, what kind of bar would be the best and stuff. So more information to come on that. But thank you all for watching and have a great night.
Good night, everybody.